Right, so let's try and see if the Maslas bros are connected and see if everything works. Hey guys!
We
Hi.
can see you and we can
Hi.
hear
Hi
you.
guys.
Hi guys.
So
Hi. Hello, Marco. Hello, Ian.
hello, hello. So the two, you're bringing the joy into this live stream. You're the joyful developers, and your setup is actually fantastic. You look super
Thank you.
professional. I couldn't once you know the last, I think it was the last live stream, you said to us there's one good looking Maslas and then there's the other one. You almost look like two professional Hollywood actors now.
Well, the second one is the clever one, the one with the long hair.
All right, how are you guys?
We're fine. We're fine. We are enjoying ourselves with the development of the project.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, and we're happy to see you, Marco, especially because with Ian, due to our professional market obligations, we meet a lot.
Yeah, we
A
see
lot
each other
more
a lot
times
more
per
than we
year.
used to.
Yeah.
Ian got the message, I guess.
Right, so can you tell us where you are with development? Well, how are things going? What's the current situation?
We are working full steam. At the moment,
We're on nuclear age, not steam age. my friend.
but anyway, that's the idea. At the moment, we are implementing systems inside the submarine, so we're done with most of the wall stuff. We're done with most of the physics stuff. Some of those we're going to display tonight. And essence, we are working on our internal systems on the submarine.
We are
David
blowing
was
things
very
up.
excited. He managed to get the submarine to dive last week.
Yes, he did. He asked a couple of questions. We had some forward and backward messages through email, but in the end, he got the basic hang of the thing.
Yeah,
It's
it wasn't easy.
what are you? I mean, right now, what are we seeing right now? It's the you know, we've seen this in earlier live streams, but it's almost like it's a different, completely different thing because it's been upgraded in so many different ways. So tell us a bit more about that.
Well, what we see right now is the interior of. Let's get back. Yes, that's a Block 3 Virginia class submarine. Initially we are going to model the first 3 blocks of the Virginia class, which means apart from some artistic, let's say, differences inside, the most part has to do with sensors and interfaces. How we work is that we build a world. On top of that, we have our physics and our stuff, and then we build the ships. And inside the ships, we have to build each system individually. The reason is that they are ships, and no two vessels are identical. The Virginia classes are already 20 years old, and the ones that were delivered 20 years before have not that many things in common as far as systems are concerned with the new ones. So, in essence, every time we build a submarine for the game, we have to build through. Let's say in this case, for the Virginias, we had to build 3 different systems, or let's say each subsystem of the submarine. 3 different sonar systems, 3 different radar systems, 2 different fire control systems, etc., etc.
One of the things I find really interesting is that in that 3D view that we were just looking at, those controls, they're not just visual decoration. This stuff is all real, isn't it? And all interactive.
Yes, in fact, you can click on almost most stuff that you can click on. You can actually do something with those, apart from third grade stuff like some small valves and stuff. But the operational stuff are all working, and the thing is that exactly because all these are working, we had to keep all the rest of the UI as minimal. You don't have any HUD displays all over the place. You don't have any additional information. If you need to know where you are or where you're heading, you'll have to turn right or left and look at the screen, and you'll get the information.
It's what you're doing is in the process is you're focusing on the systems, and there's 3 different versions of the systems, but there's the outside world as well, right? So you're working
Yes.
on a dynamic world with real life weather and traffic, and everything outside of the submarine is also being created. How do you manage to make such a detailed game? And it's the 2 of you and some other external contributors, but you're not like 100 people working on the game. So how do you manage to build
we're
something
not.
so detailed?
As a matter of fact, there are working 100 people for the project.
Well,
The 2 of us and another 98.
yeah. No, we are a small team. Indeed, we, especially for the world part, believe it or not, that was the easy part. We get a lot of information. We implemented several GIS libraries, that's geographical data libraries. So we have data from Copernicus, from NASA, from UCLA, different sources about the weather, about the ocean, like ocean temperature at different layers, salinity, flows, max and mean wave heights, all these different data, and on top of that, we build our engine that the system gets all this data and creates all these worlds in, let's say, automated way. This, believe it or not, it's the easy part because the data are readily available. For the traffic, we use there's a system now that's 16 years old called AIS. Most merchant vessels are obliged to transmit above a certain displacement. They're obliged to transmit their locations every couple minutes and their type and the destination. We've got here in the office an AIS receiver. We get all this data, we retransmit them, we get a database, we make some statistical analysis on that, and we create the real-time traffic. So we mostly
It's the way they
use
say it,
automation.
that's just something that they
Yeah, we've got an
did
AI
this morning.
system in the office,
Yeah.
and I've got 2 actually. But I won't say it to anyone.
Yeah.
And the rest are done by an AI.
Now the systems modeling is way harder because most of it is classified. We had to dig into books. We had to dig into news feeds, into official presentations. We have watched hours and hours of videos.
But in the end, physics is physics. And
We had to make some educated guesses.
yeah,
And
the way sound works under the water, it's all about physics. So if you just connect the dots, you can find the answers that you are looking for.
Yeah, you make it sound very easy, but to be honest, I half of the time I don't know what you're talking about. But no, I'm joking. I'm joking. You're making it very clear, guys. The thing about being realistic and so collecting all this data and then putting it into the game and understand that this might be some sort of the easy part compared to the modeling and everything. But it's really what is interesting is how all this data you're putting into the sim actually interacts with the game itself. So it's you've got the data, but you make it relevant to the players. No matter what they're doing, it's something that makes it feel like a real world, but it's also being part of that world that's
feels
active.
Very real. I don't think there's anything that comes close to it in terms of realism. And whilst we're focusing on the commercial version, there's already professional side is already showing interest because they haven't seen anything that's close to this in level of realism either. So if you want to learn to control a submarine, this is going to be the best way to do it.
Yeah, in all due honest, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we after some of the meetings we did with Ian and some various professional organizations, we had the opportunity to check what some of the, let's say, heavyweight professional simulator systems, and we discovered that let's say some of them were lacking the physics part, some of them were lacking
You're
the
being polite.
sensor part. Yes, so in essence, what we got, we tried to create the full package. The one that you have both physics and sensors and weapons and deployment and the whole stuff.
So we started building the world from down up.
Yeah.
If you make a very good environment and put some real physics behind it, then the whole thing just connects and interacts. And even sometimes ourselves are very excited on the results of all this stuff combined together,
Yeah.
bringing you what you see right now.
Yeah. Well, is there anything like that you want to go into detail about the game? And I call it a game. It's a simulation, but that you're particularly proud of, and you want to go, and explain more. Is there something that you'd like to sort of analyze a bit more, or show, or tell us about?
Oh, there are tons and tons of stuff.
Usually, we are very excited on our latest features because
yes, because that's what we have played with the last week.
yes,
I
have to share. Yeah.
the video that right now is playing, what you actually see is the normal operation of how you surface a submarine. For instance, that's one of our latest implementations. You get your submarine shallow, you raise what is called the snorkel mast. That's the mast we see right now. And then you start using low pressure blowers, filling the tanks with air and draining water outside. What this whole process does is that makes your submarine light, and then you surface. As a process, it takes several minutes, depending on the water, the temperature, whatever. Of course, we have a time compression feature on the game, and in a few seconds we'll do that. But at the same time, the submarine has a fly-by-wire system, for instance. And while we were recording this particular video, we forgot to tell to the fly-by-wire system that, look, we want to surface. Instead of that, we tried to drain the tanks and left the fly-by-wire, believing that we want to get down to, I don't remember, 65 feet. So although we'll start right now running the time faster, you'll see that the boat will never surface because the fly-by-wire is trying to get us down, while the physics are pushing it up. We ourselves made a mistake, and we never allowed the submarine to surface in this instance. Believe it or not, the fun part for us is when we put all the system together, because somebody is doing something, somebody else is doing something else, and then we get all the system together and we see that, okay, this works. It's actually what it should have done in reality. Because in essence, what we do, the fly-by-wire system is not directly connected to the physics of the engine. It works as a separate system as it does in real life.
So if a
trying to move the
submarine team
planes
had
of
done
the
this
whole.
wrong, this is what could have happened in real life if someone had tried to control the submarine incorrectly.
Trying to surface, but it won't, because the planes of the submarine is pushing it down.
All the hydrodynamic forces are pushing down
And now we
ship,
found
the
the
boat.
issue. We set what we call the bubble at 0, which means that leave the planes up. And then we put the time up again, 8 times this time, and in a few seconds,
I think people think
the
that
game died.
the ships and submarines are simpler to control than they are. There's a lot of moving parts, and you have to get everything working together to make the submarine do what you want it to do. And one of the interesting things that you guys have done is there's an enormous amount to think about in just one submarine. So you've split those stations out to be able to control separately.
Yes, because that has a twofold idea. Obviously, it's an important factor in the pro market, but also it allows us to make multiplayer, multi-station games where you can have 2, 3, 5, 10 people working on different stations on the same submarine.
Plus the fact that the AI ships are working in the same manner as the manual ship, as the player ship.
Yeah.
So the AI will definitely give the same orders as you will have in the ship that it's not playable in the title.
You're talking about really cooperative multiplayer modes there, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you imagining that you'd be able to do that a cooperative mode, but then against another submarine? So you could have one submarine that you're controlling versus another submarine. Is that kind of thing likely to be possible?
Definitely.
Yes, that's one of the basic features. It's not something that we
Yeah.
plan for the future. It's one of the
Yeah,
very basic stuff.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
on the release. Yeah.
That would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that's the second video. We are deep. That's, let's say, the most the fastest way to get to the surface right now. Instead of actually going shallow, deploying the snorkel mast and getting low pressure air, we lift these two very nice handles called chicken switches, which actually blow high pressure air in the ballast tanks. And the submarine will start to, yeah, that's the idea, start to raise very rapidly. It's like you have a basketball in depth and you leave it, surface.
You can see, the lift force is
The lift force is
extremely high at that
extremely
moment.
high, and what it does, you have a 7,000 tons of metal and weaponry, people jumping out of the water and then falling in again.
And it's actually one of the most common scenes that everybody has seen in movies. That
October and
that
stuff.
they see a submarine getting to the surface with very fast speed, and here it is.
You made it
That,
happen
of
this
course,
time, so you won't be fired. There's a couple of more questions I want to ask before we say goodbyes. The one thing is, of course, this is a Virginia class submarine, and one of the most common questions out there is, what is the plan for expanding and what the future is? I know you've got to finish this one first, consider that, but what are your plans for the future of the game?
Believe it or not, some of our decisions for future DLCs. Oh, that's it. Sorry to interrupt. That's it. An explosion, which is one of our favorites. Yes.
Yeah, you got to see that. Yeah.
Most of the decisions have to do also with the professional market, but our plans usually say that we are going to release either one of these two submarines, either the British Astute class or one of the type 212, 214 diesel electric submarines from the German Navy. I think they both make for very compelling gameplay, both on the commercial side and the professional side, of course. And that's our initial plan for DLCs. In the future, we want to expand more, of course, even on surface vessels, if everything goes well.
Yes.
Just to make a notice on this video, this particular one, we had a torpedo hitting the ship, sorry, and what you see is that how water enters the various areas of the vessel and fills them up to the point that the ship turns around and eventually sinks. The damage modeling system we have right now, it's hit by a torpedo will open a hole, and this hole will get water in, and as
time progresses.
yes, and compartments fill, the ship might survive or might sink, like this case, depending on where it's hit and if it's in battle stations, if it is a military vessel. And people should know that also ships don't sink instantly; they take some time for that. That's why we added time compression in the video.
That makes sense. And it's cool because it's some we like to see some action as well. So that's thanks for showing us the action part as well. And last question I've got is about VR and you know how we're gonna see VR implemented in the game.
VR is the gameplay. The idea of the gameplay for the game is twofold. One is you operate the stations. The other is that you take the part of the captain. The captain gives orders, and the people on stations execute these orders. So there's always somebody that is in control. The idea for VR is that you take the place of the captain. He moves around, or she, right? This age, this person moves around the control room and look at the station and give the command. Look, I want that. I want this target, this contact to be assigned to torpedo 1, and do this, then that, or get us to that depth or that speed, and so on and so forth. That's the idea for the VR. It's that you get in the place of the captain, and then you can have people without VR playing on their computer or AI and doing the station stuff.
Will VR be available at release, or is it going to be happening later?
We were hoping for the initial release. It depends on how we progress on other stuff. Our main idea is that we want to give whatever we are going to release initially. We want it to be very well crafted. We don't like leaving the dents, and if some systems are not to be included, not going to be included for good reason. If it's VR is not in at the first release, it will be on
Definitely
on the first updates for sure.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you very much. It's always.
Marco,
do you want to say something else?
Yes. One last
Go for
thing.
it.
The team is not very big, although we have people from all over the world. We have people from the US, France, one Dutch member, French, British. But I want to thank also the community, because we have a very, very good community.
Exactly. Yeah.
And most of them are either professionals or semi-professionals or have something to do with that. And they're a big drive behind the details we add to the game.
Yes.
Most of the stuff we did add is either because of their recommendations or because of their assistance. So I had to say thank you to all these guys that help us all this time.
No, it's great. I keep saying that with our wargaming community in general. They are a great community. They tend to, most of our competitors or peers in the market, they have to face very sometimes fierce, sometimes
hostile communities.
and wargaming market has a great community. So it's absolutely on spot on that you mentioned that, because it's definitely one bit
very civilized.
Yes.
And
educated, professional. We're very happy about this part of our work.
A big thank you.
So that's you guys out there. So thank you guys for.
Yes, no, definitely. Do we have time for any questions from the community?
Is there any question? Okay, let me check. Okay, so release timeline. Oh, that's an odd one. Yanis, tell us something about the release. Dimitri is not going to answer that one.
No. Well, we were supposed to enter beta late this year. I think we postponed that for a quarter or something. We hope to have entered beta late Q1, early Q2 of next year. See how this goes and release immediately after that.
Okay.
I guess that it's not going to be a very short beta. There are way many systems that needs to be checked. Again, we hope the community will do better work than we by ourselves. So hopefully we'll have it by late Q2 next year. That's our hopes.
Yeah, the one question which is interesting because reminds me of some my history as well. Would it there's one question saying, is this the equivalent of one person commanding or a shipboat, or will it be more like Cold Waters, for instance, where you're commanding an officer, you're a commanding officer, and what are the options there in terms of the command of a submarine? Is it how is the structure? If you're playing single player, do you control all the stations? Can you delegate? Can you just ask the AI to do some of the stuff for you?
You can delegate, you can assign AI on each station, and you can just be the captain. So you give commands, you look around the control room and give commands, do that, do this, and delegate either to AI or some other multiplayer or network player. And either that, or you can actually take charge of one or more stations, as many as you wish, depending, of course, on the scenario. And if there are many things to do, it might get at some points a little hectic. So probably, I guess most people will delegate some parts.
Well, my idea is that in the future, since my guess is that many scenarios are going to be available later and from the community too. So I'm pretty sure that we're gonna see some campaigns that they are management oriented. You're gonna be the captain. You won't have to walk on stations so much, and some others are going to be sonar oriented and maybe made by sonar men, which there are many in the community. So we're going to see many different types of campaigns, and people are going to get in the position to play in many different stations in many different ways. MNW.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about the sim is that there's so many different parts to it. I mean, we could open an hour-long discussion about sound and how you're coping with sound in the game and so on. So there's all sorts of different things you could talk about. One last question from the community. I think it's one of the earlier trailers we had, like air units. Like I think it was a drone. There was a helicopter prosecuting the sub with a sonar, with a dipping sonar. Can you tell us a bit more about how these elements are going to interact within the sim?
Well, you cannot waver anti-submarine warfare aircraft and helicopters, because apart from another submarine, your biggest enemy as a submarine captain is always a helicopter or anti-submarine warfare aircraft. So they are going to be there, and they are going to be very, very aggressive against you.
Yeah, usually the anti-submarine warfare works in a combined way. So you're gonna see this combination of forces trying to hunt you down.
Yeah, aircraft launching sonar buoys and frigates getting near you, along with their helicopters moving around.
Especially with the introduction of multi-purpose frigates.
Yes.
They have some of them are huge. They have 2 helicopters.
Yeah,
And you're gonna see this stuff.
yeah, playing around.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, guys, we look forward to opening the beta and seeing more players getting their hands on the game. Thanks for joining us, and I'm sure
Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
do more
Great to
about
see
this in the near future. So thanks a lot.